said anyway, there are three main major labels in the world now. Major is basically, it's just defined as those labels that are part of corporate groups, conglomerates. They have global reach, large staff teams.
Is that one of the major plus points to a major label, then, the global strategy that they can put forward for you in an office in every territory?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as Scott, was it speaking earlier?
Jeff,
guy,
sorry,
Jeff,
yeah, I'm Scott.
Yeah, Jeff speaking earlier said, you know, it's about starting at the grassroots basically, and you know, big record labels do have global reach. You know, you're as an individual working from your home studio or your bedroom, you're not necessarily going to be able to, you know, reach markets in Japan as easily as, you know, a label that has offices based over there, or, you know, your European continental markets and states as well. In comparison with independent labels, they're defined as such as, you know, they're independently funded. They can range from small teams of staff from about, you know, 1 or 2 people in a back room to maybe 20 or 30 people in a small office up and down the country. And you've got small, medium and large independents as well. You know, you have to think about, well, what is a record label as well, basically. I mean, for the most part, it is a business. You know, they're not charities. You know, they're not, how can I put it, an evil empire, or, you know, they're not these type of people. They're not here to take your soul or, you know, get you to, you know, be puppets on a string. It's just businesses. And you, as artists aspiring or not yourselves, you should also think of yourselves as a business, as a product, as something, you know, that, you know, you want to fulfill whatever your ambition may be as well.
Do you think that's a general misconception on major labels, that they are there to take everything? And I've heard it quite a few times from the artists we deal with, that, and I don't know if it's a case of bitter artists who aren't getting signed by majors, or if it's, if, you know, how true is that? What's your opinion of that?
Yeah. In my opinion, yeah, that's definitely a big misconception, and I guess part of what's fueling the current trends in you know, the DIY kind of industry, where a lot of artists are doing a lot of things themselves. It's a culture of doing everything yourself basically, and yeah, there's a big misconception about that. I think based on historical, you know, deals with a lot of major acts, you know, that probably felt that they've, you know, been dealt a bad hand, or, you know, a bad card. What you should always remember when you're, you know, approaching record labels is that you have equal power. It's a negotiation. You're not signed to a label. You have an agreement as an equal business partner, you know, for a shared venture basically. You know, you have the talent, they may have resources, and it's about you working together to achieve a common goal, whatever that may be for yourself.
What stage do you think an artist is ready to get to a major as well? Are you looking at previous sales of business that they've already done? Are you looking at social media stats, or what's, you know, when are they ready to approach you?
I mean, again, these type of questions as well, it's almost like, yeah, how long is a piece of string? I mean, when you are ready, when you feel to yourself that you're ready, then that's the best time that you should be approaching the companies. But it's a good point that you made. It is, although the internet has made a lot of things possible for emerging artists just to get directly out there and target your consumer, get your music up and get people engaged with you, there is still a lot to be said for so-called gatekeepers, so managers, accountants, lawyers, you know, who are connected with these people basically, and they're probably the most trusted sources that a lot of A&Rs do go to for, you know, tips and recommendations, particularly if they've got quite a good track record. Somebody like, you know, Modest Management, you know, has quite a good track record with a lot of artists, so it's going to be a very good place to start. You know, try to see if you can get the attention of a management company, or, you know, quite a good manager. So
it's almost, you should be approaching those guys first before they approach you, really, in some ways.
Most definitely.
And do you think, in the position you're in, are labels looking at things like how many likes you got on Facebook, how much action you're doing on Spotify, how many plays? Because you can't really fake the numbers on Spotify like you can on YouTube and Facebook. Correct, would that be correct to say or not?
Yeah, that's pretty much correct. I mean, now not as so much. There is still pretty much a bit of a focus on, you know, what your socials are saying. A lot of the time when I, you know, approach A&R and say, okay, check out this guy, I think he's good, or, you know, this girl's, you know, doing a lot of good stuff, the first thing that a lot of A&Rs tend to check is, you know, what the socials are saying. Do they have any buzz? Buzz referring to, you know, is there a lot of chatter around? Is there a lot of engagement on their social channels? So it is still relevant, because if you haven't seen an act live, you know, and it's not necessarily easy to get to see them live, the first thing, the easiest thing to do is to look on their social channels. Do they have any social media sites?
And what type of deals are on the table at the moment? What's the general deals? We did touch on that really before. You said, you know, the traditional deal is obviously you sign an artist. Would it still be like an 80-20 split, 80 in the major labels' favour?
Yeah.
Is that?
I mean, those traditional deals, they do still exist, but I think in today's age where a lot of people are building their own buzz off of social media, now you're in a better position as artists to, negotiate better terms. So you will occasionally get some people with, you know, good followings that are able to negotiate deals over 50-50 nature. But another talking point which is being discussed with a lot of the labels is not so much traditional deals in terms of signing artists and then releasing their music, but it's more about business opportunities. You know, it's about, is there a brand opportunity here? Can we make, you know, this artist successful by doing a brand or business partnership with them? And there's so many other areas apart from the traditional deal. You know, you've got a 360 contract as it's termed. It's basically a type of deal where you share the rights to every aspect of your career, so from live to merch to, you know, your brand partnerships, as well as your money from recorded music. I think that's an easy mistake for many artists to make, is, you know, to get consumed by what's in maybe the top 10 or the top 20, and okay, right now it might be grime, so I'm gonna try and see if I can make some grime stuff, or, you know, maybe it's gonna be EDM, so I'm gonna just do everything with an EDM twist. But realistically, you have to think about what's your passion, you know, what's native to you. If you're a guitarist, then find ways to make that work for you, and, you know, try to find something different. What's different about you? You have to think, why are they going to notice you out of so many other people? Because, you know, as the previous guest said, you know, earlier, there's no shortage of talent. You know, it's not to say that if you get turned down for an opportunity, it doesn't mean that you're not talented. You might have talent, but maybe there's just some extra element that, you know, we need to see in order for you to stand above the rest of the crowd. But I definitely would say, you know, hone your skills, do as many shows as you can, and just refine what your offering is.
Put your hands up if you, in the last 7 days, listen or get your music through a conventional radio station. So, i.e., do you listen to Radio 1, Heart, Capital, Breeze, any of those stations? Is that how you mainly get your music? If that's the way, put your hands up. Right. So I'm guessing the majority of you are getting it through iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Would that be correct? Right, okay. So that gives us an idea about approaching radio stations. Now, first of all, you need to be ready. And I'm thinking to myself, it's all about the music. How many of you, put your hands in the air, how many of you are currently writing your own music? That's good to see, right? Because all too often, when we go to open mics and assortment of other places, there's an awful lot of people and they do cover versions, which is fine, but it's not the way to approach a radio station. They want something that's original, but you've got to be prepared as well. And what we try to do is encourage as many people locally to come in and do sessions for us. But you've got to be prepared if you're going to do a session. We want you to come in and do 3 songs. You can bring a CD and we play one off the CD and 2 live, but it's all acoustic, so you've got to be ready for that. And when you come in, you've also got to be prepared about your social media, because that's very important today, because you do not know, believe me, you do not know who's listening to your music. Same with me on radio stations. I have people contact me and say, I'm listening to you in Brazil. Now, those that actually did go to radio stations, were you, in your own mind, well prepared? I mean, when I say that, did you actually have several tunes in your bag that you went to? Were you well organized? Did you have handouts that you could give them, PR, before you went? It's very, very important to start trying to be individual. Believe me, I'm not trying to put you down, but it's no good really trying to go to a radio station as a tribute act. You know, you don't want to go on there and say, you know, I'll do this song. What do? I'm doing 3 covers. I'm doing one Adele, one Ed Sheeran, you know, one Dipso or something. It just doesn't work like that. So I think you've got to try and cut your craft there by getting into songwriting. The people you're going to approach within the radio stations is going to be primarily the program director, but he will perhaps delegate it down to the content director, because that's a new term that people are using within radio stations as to what they're going to put on there. So the message I would try to put to you briefly is this, and then we can answer any questions coming back here, is first and foremost, I think you've got to build yourself an image. And we call it a regional breakout, but it's trying to be big in your own backyard. So make sure that you've got a decent website, that you're on Facebook, that you're on Twitter, you're on all the relevant places there, that you can definitely see, that people can see you. Make it good. You can get a website done fairly cheaply, but also you've got to be prepared. And I would urge you as well to talk to Chris here, because they do a lot of work here at River Studios, trying to get people ready to apply to various stations and other record labels, etc. But being prepared is very, very important, because when you go in there to the stations, they will give you an opportunity to talk, and you must be able to be lucid, be able to be heard correctly, and be able to answer all those questions. With all due respect, we don't want to hear things like whatever or phrases that people will use. You've got to have it very, very clear who you are, what you're about. This is my music, but also you can find me through these particular channels so that people can get these. So that's what I think you've got to do. You've got to try and be prepared. It's a tough industry out there, of course it is, but we're always looking for new talent of all age groups, and I think that's what you've got to be able to do to apply to those stations. I think it's very important to be very clear about who you are, what you're about, and what you're doing. If you've got any gigs coming up, you need to be able to promote them. You need to tell people about your websites or your social media. Those are the kind of things, Chris, but also be very clear on the direction you're following. Are you, excuse my voice if I'm going a bit, but the being able, are you into one particular genre? Where do you see yourself? Does the music you make fit with the station you're applying to? And I would actually say to anybody who's here, if they feel they are ready, and I mean ready, that they've got 3 songs that they can play acoustically, we will have them in on a Monday night and let them do their thing. But as long as they are ready, and when I mean that, I mean they're socially ready, that they've got all their things there. So another thing you might want to do to cut your teeth is local festivals. Festivals are big news. I'm not talking about Glastonbury, but you know, all over the place that you've got the festivals there, and an opportunity again to keep perfecting what you're doing and be spotted by people. You know, you're doing something as a support. I mean, this is another thing that I'm going slightly off the radio station bit here and in the sort of Leon's area, but without a doubt, if you can ever get yourself an opportunity to be a support to a top line act and do some gigs somewhere, maybe somebody comes and plays your area and they want somebody as the warm up or the support, you know, suddenly they've got 2,000 to 10,000 people that come to see this particular act, whoever it might be, and you're on first. Yes, it could be a baptism of fire, but people will say, do you know, I saw her appearing with this particular band or whatever, Manic Street Preachers or whatever it may be. Yeah, you know, let's do it and cut on there.